The Shepnaz podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. And today we're going to be discussing something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. We're going to be talking about the new version of the church website that's going to be releasing tomorrow. So we wanted to give you a little bit of a preview today, and Pastor Rob's in here with me. We're going to talk about it. We're going to be as descriptive as we possibly can for those that are listening to audio only, but also if you're interested, you can get the video version on YouTube and Spotify if you want to see it that way, and you can actually see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then come Friday, you can just go to shepnaz.org and see it for yourself.
Yeah. But you'll get the inside scoop here.
Yes.
So you definitely want to listen up.
All the ins and outs of where all the little nuggets are and how to get to them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's a complete and total redesign of what we had. What we had was good. This is kind of takes it a step further and really helps the website to be more like a tool. Not that it wasn't before, but just a lot more to it now, a lot more extensive, a lot more resources available, all that kind of good stuff.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
We've kind of had, in the past few years, about 3 evolutions of the website.
Yeah.
And the first one it was good in presenting information, but it was using some older technologies. And so a couple years ago, we switched platforms to be able to get to something that more staff could be involved in interacting with updates and things like that. Yeah. And in the meantime, we've had a few changes in church structure and everything in the past couple years.
Yeah. And the website, we talk about the website's important. I think there's a lot of reasons that people go to a website, but maybe for us, one of the most important ones is that before people ever come to church here, they're checking out the website to see if they want to come to church.
Yeah.
And so on the website, you can find the answer to probably just about every question you might have if you were asking questions about the church and what it's like and what are the services like, what are the people like, what kind of things they do there, all that kind of stuff. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the really cool things about this website that we have that you're excited about?
Sure. So I'm going to switch to a view of the desktop for those of you that are watching on video. Probably one of the things that you'll notice right off that is different is that right in the top title bar, one of the first options you're going to see there is campus. And which campus are you wanting to look at? There's a drop down there. And when you drop that down, you can pick either Gahanna, Johnstown, or online. And when you pick those, it's going to give you things that are specific to that campus. And we have some, especially I'm kind of one of those hybrid people myself. Sometimes I'm at the service in Johnstown, sometimes at the service in Gahanna. So I kind of want to keep up with everything that's going on at both campuses, but also there's times when it's convenient just to be able to see the events or the groups or things like that are just happening at a particular location. So I like the fact that it is more upfront, kind of with our multi-campus nature now, and
you
that
have to pick
culture.
One.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Now you can look through different ones, but for now, we'll just go to the Gahanna one so that you can kind of see what that looks like. And we have upcoming events. We have something called Shep Now, which we'll talk about pretty soon here. Groups that are available for adults. You can plan a visit if you've never been there, or if you just want to see what happens when you click plan a visit, you can do that. And then as you scroll down the page, you'll also see some of the ministries that go on here at Shepherd. Not necessarily groups, because if you want groups, you go to groups. If you want events, you go to events. But some of the other like next gen ministries, the Shepnaz Kids, the Shepnaz Youth, Shepherd Christian School and Early Learning Center, and Shepnaz Basketball, which is well underway. I've been told by JR and Mike that they're probably over 75% registered right now. But
pretty crazy.
I'm sure they would appreciate everyone either clicking this link here to go to shepnazbasketball.org or go straight to shepnazbasketball.org and go ahead and get registered that way. But I'll go ahead and take you to the upcoming events, and I'm just going to do the one for Gehenna right now. And if you're looking at the screen, this isn't completely updated yet, but it does have a lot of new information in it, and within the next couple days, it's going to have even more.
Yeah.
But this looks considerably different than what it did before. One of the things that I think is pretty cool is the very next event that is coming up as a church event is going to be right at the top.
Yep.
And it's even giving you a countdown, so you can get all excited about that.
Yeah, sweet.
Of what's coming up. And as you scroll down, though, you can look at all the different events. And instead of it having to go to a separate web page every time you're wanting to look at an event, I could just click, in this case, I'm looking at the crisis care kit, and it just drops down and gives me all the event details, what time we're doing it, what the location is. If I am looking at some events that are, let's say, a cross between virtual and physical, like our worship services, when I click on that, I'll see the information about that service. And it'll have a link there that I can click, or I can click down here to the virtual event details, and it'll take me straight to the live stream for that event. So
Nice.
one of the things you'll find, I think, in this site is that there's more than one way to get there. Because definitely some of the research that we've done is that different people find information in different ways. And so although we may be storing information in one spot, we might find numerous ways that people want to get to it.
Yep.
And speaking of that, while we're talking about the church website, another thing to consider is that while this is all going on, we still have updates with the mobile app. That if you don't have the mobile app, you can have the mobile app on your phone, and it has all this kinds of information as well, and access to it. So. Yeah,
mobile app is great. You can get a lot of stuff on that as well.
So I'll go back to the Gehenna page real quick. And while we're there, I'm going to skip over Shepnaz for right now, because that's going to be kind of its own animal that we'll tackle here. But we can take a look at groups for adults. And when I click on that link, it's going to show me all kinds of different small groups, large groups, sports groups, fellowship groups, whatever we have going on. And I can, at the top here, I can click to see what location that I want to look at.
Kind of filtering the list.
You can filter those results, or whether you want to see things that are happening on Gehenna campus, or we have some small groups that are in home, so they're not necessarily associated with a particular campus. We have some groups that are off-site. Like, for example, my life group is considered pretty much an off-site life group. If we had one place that we probably go to more than any, it might be Massey's in Gehenna. Because they're very gracious hosts for us there. But
and they have pizza.
Yes, it makes going to life group a little easier. But
feed your soul and your stomach.
You know, we actually have people from both the Gehenna campus and Johnstown campus that join us, and so we kind of float around from place to place. And so that's why it's listed as offsite. But in addition to looking at just the location, I can also go by the kind of group. I can filter whether I want to look at all the groups. I can look at large groups. An example of some large groups would be something like CR, prayer and praise, those kinds of events. Or I can look for small groups like life groups that I might want to be a part of. And another thing we have is sports and recreation. And we don't have a lot of those right now, but we do have a couple. If you look at that, you'll find that we have the information there for disc golf, and also the information for men's basketball. I have noticed the women have, a lot more like artsy and food things going on, and prayer, and the guys seem to have more outdoorsy and active things going on. So I suppose that's a good thing. The last thing I can filter by over here is also the days of the week. Maybe I have a particular day that's open to me, or I'm hoping to find a group that meets on a particular day. I can actually click on those days and find out what groups are meeting on those days. And I could see what kinds of groups are available. And I can tell you we're going to be constantly trying to update this information. And Pastor, if you would speak for a moment, speaking of updates, what are we trying to do this month and next month in concern of membership updates?
Yeah, so we are a couple of things. Many of you know we have a church database that's online called Church Community Builder. We call it the Loop, and we're hoping to try and get as much information in there up to date as possible. When we first put people in, if we didn't have birthday information, their birthday was the day we entered them. And so we have some people who are, 60 years old, but the Loop says that they're 10 years old.
Right.
And we want to be able to have anniversaries and things to be able to celebrate with you. Some folks have moved, you get new cell phones, you change your email address, those kinds of things. We want to just be able to stay as current and relevant as we can with our database. We'd love to have a picture associated with your name in there. So it's kind of like the old school church directory where you just have to come in, dress up, take a picture, and then you get a book. And then 3 weeks after it gets printed, when it's printed, it's out of date. This is nice because you can just keep it up to date. So on Sunday mornings now, we are asking folks to update their information, or it doesn't have to be on Sunday morning. You can even go into the Loop. But if you don't have access to that, let us know, because it's a great tool for you as a member of the church to be able to stay connected with folks from the church.
Yeah, inside, if you actually get a login, and by the way, if you aren't able to get logged in, you can send an email to info@shepnaz.org. And Natalie Kuhn is our administrator for the church database, and you can touch base with her by emailing info@shepnaz.org. And if you've never logged in and you want to know what it's like and you want to make sure you get a login set up correctly, she'll be able to help you navigate that.
Yeah.
But if you do have a login, you can go in there, and one of the things that's very convenient is you could take a look at, your own giving for this year. And ever so often, I've got things set up for me personally that do automatic withdrawals and stuff like that. But ever so often I want to, throughout the year, go in there and kind of see where I am for the year and see if I need to add some more or give myself a pat on the back for where I am. I don't know. But I like to keep up with those things, and also it'll show you like the different things that you can sign up for and make sure that you're set up for like the weekly emails and things like that. Oftentimes I think people wonder, like, why should I be giving this information? In the world that we live in today, it's very difficult for us to want to let go of some contact information. But then oftentimes I'll hear people say, I didn't know this was happening. I wish I would have known something was happening. And it's like, well, we've been sending out emails for the past 3 weeks about this, and probably didn't get them because you've given us an email address that you used when you were in college 20 years ago. And I do think we have some of those still.
Yeah, we do
actually.
We have some.
All right. Well, if it's all right, I was going to go to the Shep Now page. And this was a phrase. I'll give my son Joshua credit for coining at least some of this verbiage here, because we really struggled with what do we call this? Because it's a collection of a lot of things that would be helpful. It's kind of like on demand, but when people hear the term on demand, they think primarily of like video service, like, DirecTV on demand or something like that.
Netflix.
And while that does, those kinds of things are here, it's a lot more than just that. So if you go to Shepnaz and you go to the Shep Now page, what you'll see is a link to be able to go to the live services. That'll take you to Altar Live to be able to watch the services there. It'll also take you to the podcast, what you're listening to right now. Every day, this is automatically updated. So you will see the audio version of this embedded in the page where you can just click to play. And also you'll see the latest YouTube video. So whatever is today's podcast, that YouTube video will be available on that page as well. Now, one of the things that I am pretty excited about is the message archive, and I'm going to go ahead and go into it. And this is where it has kind of taken the website to a different level, because now this can actually become a tool that we hope you're able to use as you're kind of on your faith journey of taking your next step.
Yeah.
And what that'll do is it's going to show you a lot of the most recent sermons that have been preached here on campus. And we're expanding that. We're going to be starting to include some of the messages that Nick is giving at the Johnstown campus. So, for example, this past Sunday, you were preaching in Gahanna while Nick was preaching in Johnstown. Both of you guys were on the same topic roughly and the same scripture, but you each had your own take on it.
Yeah.
And
his was probably better too.
Well, we're going to post them both and maybe we can put out a poll.
There we go.
But one of the things that we're doing with some of the tools that we have kind of in the background is not just putting it there for you to be able to watch the video, but to actually put some teeth to what was talked about, the scripture that was covered. And so you'll see all these little orange words here that become hyperlinks. And so for every message, it's the top 10 topics that were talked about during this message. It's the scripture that was used during the message. If it's part of a series, if you are looking for a particular time frame, you can actually do a date range search here at the top and say, I seem like, back in June, Rob had this message and I want to share that with somebody. So you could actually just say, show me the messages that were in June, and you can look through those. Or knowing that it was perhaps it was a time when Tim preached, and I can take a look at all the speakers and I could go back to the message that we have from Tim.
Yeah.
And I'll see his profile and the messages that we have loaded for Tim. I can go to that message, and when I do, I can from right here from the webpage, I could go ahead and play the message and rehear that. But it also down here at the description at the bottom has the links to the resources that went along with that particular message. So as we've been doing for a few months now, we've been producing the 5-day devotional, the parent guide, and the leader guide. And with each of these messages where those tools are available, you can click on those links and you'll be able to get to those.
Yeah, and that may be something that if you're listening, you didn't know that we were doing, that you can get a 5-day devotional based on the sermon, a parent guide, which is just some questions that you could ask one question a day with your child about and start a conversation about one of the topics of the message. And then if you're a group leader, we'll send out questions and you can use this as you meet with your group. If you don't have some curriculum or something else that you're already using, but just recap of the sermon and some application questions so you can kind of keep that living throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah, it's a way so that instead of just a message being one and done and gone on Sunday and forgotten on Monday, this is a way for us to be able to kind of take it a little step farther and try to actually apply it in our lives and really see what does this mean, and to be able to start those discussions with our family or with our friends in a small group setting. And I think that I'm excited about that because it allows, it takes me all week to put the message together, give it in half hour, 40 minutes, 50, 55, 60, it depends. However long. We'll give you your money's worth.
But it allows you to just, have to be able to chew on it, think about it, make some application to it. And that's one of our goals is that we'll help people to engage daily, which is one of the goals of the podcast. But now we have other resources to help you stay connected with what's happening at the church or what God's doing through the church and through the ministry here on a daily basis.
And as I'm continuing down through the Shep Now page, kind of as we're on this topic of daily helps, and I had mentioned that we're trying to get you easy ways to get to the same content or whatever way might be best for you. So I just showed you by looking at the message and going back to that particular message from that particular week, you can get the resources. But one convenient way that you can get the resources for this week is by clicking on the daily helps. And when you go to the daily helps, it's going to give you the the 5-day, the group leader guide, the parent guide, and the message notes for that week. We're going to keep 2 weeks at a time because we do have this kind of unusual transition period time during the middle of the week where we're still using resources from the previous Sunday, but we're also getting ready to post resources for this coming Sunday. So what you'll see on the Daily Helps page will be essentially the previous week and the coming week, and those will be updated each week to have that information available there.
Yeah, I think this could be really meaningful. And the other thing is, you're having a conversation with somebody at work about what was said during the message during the week. You can pull up the notes and pull it up there. I think the notes that we are posting have the answers to the blanks.
Yes.
So if you miss one on Sunday, you can always go back. Or if you don't want to do it during Sunday, you just want to listen, you can go back and have that if you wanted it. Or to as a resource to have a conversation with somebody at work or a family member or whatever. So, hopefully that will be a good resource for you to be able to use in your own life and maybe even to use to help other people as well.
And with all of these resources, it's kind of been built with that in mind, is that the point here is not just to push out a bunch of content to say, look what we did, we pushed out a bunch of content. Yeah. This is a means by which we have an easy vehicle to be sharing our faith on a daily basis.
Yeah.
When we encourage people to go to the church website, when we encourage people to go to social media, it's not just so that they can consume the content that the church is putting out there. It's so that, hey, this is something I could send to somebody else. I can click share on this and I can share it to somebody else, whether it's a devotional, whether it's a social media post, whether it's a video of a message, any of those things.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go through a few more, and of course, we don't want to skip over the giving section. We've made that very prominent right there in the top header, and it's pretty easy. You just put in a big number. The bigger numbers seem to process better. So
faster, better.
So put a big number up there and then click next. But you do have the options down here of putting in how you want to give. You can schedule something that's reoccurring. You can also make sure that it's going into the fund that you intend it to go into by selecting that at the bottom.
Same
as well.
page you can give to Gahanna campus, the Johnstown campus. You can give to missions or any other special projects we might have. You can give with your credit card. You can give as a withdrawal from your account. Those are the best, honestly, because we don't have any transaction fees. With credit cards, there's fees. If you take it's ACH, then there's no fee or the smallest amount of fee. Usually there's none with that, and the church gets all of the donation that you're making. So, and like you said, you can give one time on there. You can give recurring. You can set that up to be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, however you want it to be.
And I do believe if you were using a credit card, you can choose to cover the cost of the processing.
Right, you can add that on there.
There's an option if you decide, well, the best way for me to do this is through this kind of card, because some people may not be as comfortable using a debit card online as they are a credit card. Yeah. And so if you do feel like that and you say, I want for that extra protection, I want to go ahead and cover the processing charge, you can click to do that as well.
Yeah, it's anywhere from 1% to 3% usually, somewhere in that neighborhood. So
I don't want to leave Johnstown out, because certainly one of the main reasons we were doing all of this is so that we weren't treating Johnstown in a different manner than what we were treating the Gahanna campus. We didn't want Johnstown to just be a ministry of Shepherd Church, that Johnstown is Shepherd Church, just like Gahanna is. Mm-hmm. And so I just clicked on the campuses and went to the Johnstown page. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that's really cool that we have available here that's not currently available in Gahanna is what is now being changed and will be changed in the next couple days as this gets released. When you see it on Friday, instead of this saying food bank, is going to say food pantry. That's a decision that's recently been made. But I'm going to go to it anyhow, even though it says food bank, and it will be food pantry soon.
Yep.
And there's ways there that we can already use this as an outreach tool where you can find ways to donate, you can volunteer your time, and that will send notifications to people to be able to volunteer their time to be able to help out with the food pantry. And then also to get help. You know, we want to be able to use this as a resource for people to be able to register that they want to get help at the food pantry as well. So this is kind of a completely new venture for us to be able to have something like this available. Now, I'm going to click at any time, wherever you are on the website, you can click the name Shepherd Church in the upper left-hand corner, and it will take you back to the homepage. And I'm going to scroll down because we kind of completely skipped over the homepage when we were getting into the content here. But as I go down, you'll see that there's something that says plan a visit. And this is another aspect that we wanted to kind of make more interactive, where if somebody is just seeing this for the first time, or maybe they've been watching online and they decide they want to plan a physical visit, they can click here. And that's going to start a whole bunch of bells and whistles and processes in the background that allows us to be able to follow up with these people and say, hey, we want to make this a great experience for you when you come. We also have all kinds of ways that you can connect with us on the homepage. If you're ever curious about, I've heard about getting to Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all that, but I don't know how to get there. You can go down to the Let's Socialize icons, and just about everywhere we are, there is a button there for you to click to get to it. Then there's this big picture of this guy in case...
Man,
while you're gone on your sabbatical, you know, if they just miss seeing your smiling face.
That's not going to happen.
They can come down here and they can actually click to meet the pastoral team. And by doing that, you get to see a little bit of everybody that's on the team. And in fact, if you go to each one of those, you'll see some additional information and see their profile information as well. So there's a lot of good stuff there. You can find out some trivia about all your pastoral staff that you didn't know before. And then below this, this is some interesting information for us as a Nazarene church. Maybe you have a friend that you said, you've sent them a link, and you're like, I don't know, what does this church believe? What's this church about? What are they like? Well, that's right there on the homepage as you scroll down to the bottom.
I like the picture of the snake on that page.
You like that?
No, kidding.
So you click on the plus sign beside our beliefs, and it will just basically have the simple statements of faith of what we believe in a very simplified form. And then you could also find out about what it means for our church to be a Nazarene church. And then if you're curious, there's also a little bit of history about Shepherd Church here locally of like how we've come about and where we are today as a result. So there is a lot of stuff here. One other thing that I want to take a look at, and I think it's really the last thing we need to take a look at, is the ready to serve part, because we would love all of you to be able to participate in this way. So if you go to ready to serve, if you remember a while back, if you were around in the spring, we did a series called Shape for Greatness. And Pastor Rob gave us some great tools to be able to use during that time period. We had a spiritual gifts test and a personality test and things of those kinds of tools that we can use. Well, now those are available. They will live in infamy now and forever ingrained into our culture. Because I can, first of all, I can go here and I can click on the Discover How God Has Gifted You to take us to the spiritual gifts test. I can find out my personal style of how those gifts might be implemented into ministry. And then when I've already got that all together, I can go to that I'm ready to serve. And I can click that, and it will notify church staff that, hey, I want to dig in. I want to get involved. And then we have one other area that is being kind of built out as we speak, and that is our ministry grid. So let's say I've kind of done an inventory to figure out where my gifts are. I have taken a look at my personality style. I told pastoral staff I'm ready to serve, and now I can actually get some training. and get plugged in to figure out how I'm going to serve. So there'll be various areas of the church that are going to be able to use that tool to have trainings available for either the volunteers or staff that are going to be working in those areas. So that is the big once-over on the website.
Yeah, and just to say on behalf of everybody, I know that's been hours and hours and hours of work, and it looks great. It's very usable. It's very easy to navigate, and it's helpful stuff. And that didn't just happen on accident. And so thank you for all your work on that. That's a lot of work, a lot of work. And I think it's going to be a very useful website to everybody who comes, first-timers and even folks who've been a part of the church for a while. So get a lot of information there.
Well, I'm pretty excited about it, and I sure hope, and my prayer is that it is something that people are able to use in their daily walk of faith and find ways that they can use it to be able to share with others.
Yep. It's very good. So that's coming out on the 13th, Friday the 13th.
That is tomorrow.
So you will be able to have access to it and spend some time with it, and you'll love it.
So now when I say visit shepnaz.org to keep up with everything that's going on at the church, it'll have a whole lot more meaning to you at this point.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoy it tomorrow. If you break it, send us an email at podcast@shepnaz.org and let me know what you broke, and I'll try to get it fixed.
Yep.
For Pastor Rob, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.